Welcome mentors to another session on Ed 319, the teacher and the school curriculum. Today, we're going to talk about Unit 4, Lesson 2, K-12 Enhanced Basic Education. So let's start. In Lesson 2, K-12 Enhanced Basic Education, we are going to discuss about the strengthening early childhood education, universal kindergarten, making the curriculum relevant to learners, contextualization and enhancements, building proficiency, mother tongue-based multilingual education, ensuring integrated and seamless learning spiral progression, gearing up for the future, ensuring college readiness, strengthening TVET integration in senior high school, and last, nurturing the holistically developed Filipino college and livelihood readiness 21st century skills. Strengthening early childhood education, universal kindergarten. Research shows that children who underwent kindergarten have better completion rates than those who did not. Children who complete a standards-based kindergarten program are better prepared for primary education. Making the curriculum relevant to learners. So students acquire in-depth knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes through continuity and consistency across all levels and subjects. Discussions on issues such as disaster risk reductions or DRR, climate change adaptation and information and communication technology or ICT are included in the enhanced curriculum. Building proficiency mother tongue-based multilingual education. Mother tongue is used in instruction and learning materials of other learning areas. The learners retain their ethnic identity, culture, heritage, and values. Children learn better and more active in class and learn a second language even faster when they are first taught in a language they understand. So in ensuring integrated and seamless learning spiral progression, basic concepts, general concepts are first learned. More complex and sophisticated versions of the basic, general concepts are then rediscovered in the succeeding grades. This strengthens retention and enhances mastery of topics and skills as they are revisited and consolidated time and again. This also allows learners to learn topics and skills appropriate to their developmental and cognitive skills. Gearing up for the future, ensuring college readiness, working with CHED to ensure alignment of core and applied subjects to the college readiness standards, CRS, and new general education or GE curriculum. Develop appropriate specialization subjects for the academic, sports, arts and design, and technical vocational livelihood tracks. For strengthening the TVET integration in senior high school, working with CHED to integrate TVET skills, competencies, and qualifications in TLE in junior high school and technical vocational livelihood TVL track in senior high school. Ensures that any grade 10 finisher and all grade 12 TVL graduates are eligible for TESDA competency qualification assessments, i.e. COC, NCI, or NC2. Nurturing the holistically developed Filipino college and livelihood readiness 21st century skills. After going through kindergarten, the enhanced elementary and junior high curriculum, and a specialized senior high program, every K-12 graduate will be ready to go on a different path, may it be further education, employment, or entrepreneurship. So the K-12 curriculum: elementary, kindergarten, grades 1 to 6, junior high, grade 7 to 10. Grade 7 to 8 are exploratory in TLE, while grade 9 to 10 are specialized in TLE. Senior high, core subjects, tracks, applied track subjects. So for the academic, this includes general academic, science, technology, engineering, mathematics or STEM, accountancy and business management, EBM, and humanities and social science or UMS. Sports, arts and designs, technical and vocational livelihood or TBL. This includes home economics, agri-fishery, industrial arts, and ICT.
Implementing rules and regulations of the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013 or Republic Act number 10533. Pursuant to Section 16 of Republic Act Number 10533, entitled An Act Enhancing the Philippine Basic Education System by Strengthening its Curriculum and Increasing the Number of Years for Basic Education, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes, also known as the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, approved on May 15, 2013, and which took effect on June 8, 2013. The Department of Education, or DepEd, the Commission on Higher Education, or CHED, and the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, or TESDA, hereby issue the following rules and regulations to implement the provisions of the Act. Rule 1. General Provisions. Section 1. The title, These Rules and Regulations shall be referred to as the Implementing Rules and Regulations, or IRR, of the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, or Republic Act Number 10533. Section 2. Scope and Application. The provisions of this IRR shall primarily apply to all public and private basic education institutions and learning centers. These IRR shall also apply to higher education institutions, or HEIs, technical vocational institutions, or TVIs, duly recognized organizations acting as teacher education institutions, or TEIs, and foundations. Section 3. Declaration of Policy. These IRR shall be interpreted in light of the Declaration of Policy found in Section 2 of the Act. Section 4. Definition of terms. For purposes of this IRR, the following terms shall mean or be understood as follows. First is Act. Refers to Republic Act Number 10533, entitled An Act Enhancing the Philippine Basic Education System by Strengthening its Curriculum and Increasing the Number of Years for Basic Education, appropriating funds therefore and other purposes, otherwise known as the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013. Next, Learning Center refers to a physical space to house learning resources and facilities of a learning program for out-of-school youth and adults. It is a venue for face-to-face learning activities and other learning opportunities for community development and improvement of the people's quality of life. This may also be referred to as Community Learning Center, authorized or recognized by the DepEd. Next, learner refers to a pupil or a student, or to a learner in the alternative learning system. Next, mother language or first language, or L1, refers to the language or languages first learned by a child, which he or she identifies with, is identified as a native language user, or by others, which he or she knows best or uses most. This includes Filipino Sign Language used by individuals with pertinent disabilities. The regional or native language refers to the traditional speech variety or variety of Filipino Sign Language existing in a region, area, or place. Next is non-DepEd public school. Refers to a public school offering basic education operated by an agency of the national government other than the DepEd, or by a local government unit. Section 5. Basic Education. Pursuant to Section 3 of the Act, basic education is intended to meet basic learning needs, which provides the foundations on which subsequent learning can be based. It encompasses kindergarten, elementary, and secondary education, as well as alternative learning systems for out-of-school learners and those with special needs under Section 8 of this IRR. Section 6. Enhanced Basic Education Program. For purposes of this IRR and pursuant to Section 4 of the Act, the Enhanced Basic Education Program encompasses at least 1 year of kindergarten education, 6 years of elementary education, and 6 years of secondary education in that sequence. Secondary education includes 4 years of junior high school and 2 years of senior high school education. The Enhanced Basic Education Program may likewise be delivered through the Alternative Learning System. So let's get to know kindergarten education, elementary education, and secondary education. So kindergarten education is the first stage of compulsory and mandatory formal education, which consists of 1 year of preparatory education for children at least 5 years old as a prerequisite for grade 1. Elementary education refers to the second stage of compulsory basic education, which is comprised of 6 years. The entrant age to this level is typically 6 years old. Secondary education refers to the third stage of compulsory basic education. It consists of 4 years of junior high school education and 2 years of senior high school education. The entrant age to the junior and senior high school levels are typically 12 and 16 years old, respectively. The DepEd may allow private educational institutions flexibility in adapting the program, provided that they comply with the DepEd prescribed minimum standards consistent with the Act. Section 7. Compulsory Basic Education. It shall be compulsory for every parent or guardian or other persons having custody of a child to enroll such child in basic education, irrespective of learning delivery, modes, and systems until its completion, as provided by existing laws, rules, and regulations. Section 8. Inclusiveness of Enhanced Basic Education. In furtherance of Section 3 of the Act, inclusiveness of enhanced basic education shall mean the implementation of programs designed to address the physical, intellectual, psychosocial, and cultural needs of learners, which shall include but shall not be limited to the following: programs for the gifted and talented. These shall refer to comprehensive programs for the gifted and talented learners in all levels of basic education. Programs for learners with disabilities. These shall refer to the comprehensive programs designed for learners with disabilities, which may be home, school, center, or community-based. Madrasa program. These shall refer to the comprehensive program using the madrasa curriculum prescribed by the DepEd, in coordination with the Commission on Muslim Filipinos for Muslim learners in public and private schools. Indigenous Peoples or IP Education Program. These shall refer to the program that supports education initiatives undertaken through formal, non-formal, and informal modalities with emphasis on any of, but not limited to, the key areas of indigenous knowledge systems and practices and community history, indigenous languages, Indigenous Learning System or ILS, and community life cycle based curriculum and assessment, educational goals, aspirations, and competencies specific to the Indigenous Cultural Community or ICC, engagement of elders and other community members in the teaching learning process, assessment, and management of the initiative, recognition, and continuing practice of the community's ILS, and the rights and responsibilities of ICCs. Programs for learners under difficult circumstances. These shall refer to the timely and responsive programs for learners under difficult circumstances, such as, but not limited to, geographic isolation, chronic illness, displacement due to armed conflict, urban resettlement or disasters, child abuse, and child labor practices. Section 9, Acceleration. Acceleration of learners in public and private basic educational institutions shall be allowed, consistent with DepEd rules and regulations. Rule 2, Curriculum. Section 10, Basic Education Curriculum Development. In the development of the basic education curriculum, the DepEd shall be guided by the following. First, formulation and design. Pursuant to Section 5 of the Act, the DepEd shall formulate the design and details of the enhanced basic education curriculum. The DepEd shall work with the CHED and TESDA to craft harmonized basic, tertiary, and technical vocational education curricula for Filipino graduates to be locally and globally competitive. Next, standards and principles. The DepEd shall adhere to the following standards and principles when appropriate in developing the enhanced basic education curriculum. A. The curriculum shall be learner-centered, inclusive, and developmentally appropriate. B. The curriculum shall be relevant, responsive, and research-based. C. The curriculum shall be gender and culture sensitive. D. The curriculum shall be contextualized and global. E. The curriculum shall use pedagogical approaches that are constructivist, inquiry-based, reflective, collaborative, and integrative. F. The curriculum shall adhere to the principle and framework of mother tongue-based multilingual education or MTB-MLE, which starts from where the learners are and from what they already know, proceeding from the known to the unknown. Instructional materials and capable teachers to implement the MTB-MLE curriculum shall be available. For this purpose, MTB-MLE refers to formal or non-formal education in which the learner's mother tongue and additional languages are used in the classroom. G. The curriculum shall use the spiral progression approach to ensure mastery of knowledge and skills after each level. And lastly, the curriculum shall be flexible enough to enable and allow schools to localize, indigenize, and enhance the same based on their respective educational and social contexts. Production and development of materials. The production and development of locally produced teaching and learning materials shall be encouraged. The approval of these materials shall be devolved to the regional and division education unit in accordance with national policies and standards. Medium of teaching and learning. Pursuant to Sections 4 and 5 of the Act, basic education shall be delivered in languages understood by the learners as language plays a strategic role in shaping the formative years of learners. The curriculum shall develop proficiency in Filipino and English, provided that the first and dominant language of the learners shall serve as the fundamental language of education. For kindergarten and the first 3 years of elementary education, instruction, teaching materials, and assessment shall be in the regional or native instruction or native language. For kindergarten and the first 3 years of elementary education, instruction, teaching materials, and assessment shall be in the regional or native language of the learners. The DepEd shall formulate another language transition program from the mother or first language to the subsequent languages of the curriculum that is appropriate to the language capacity and needs of learners from grade 4 to grade 6. Filipino and English shall be gradually introduced as languages of instruction until such time when these two languages can become the primary languages of instruction at the secondary level. Another is stakeholder participation. To achieve an enhanced and responsive basic education curriculum, the DepEd shall undertake consultations with other national government agencies and other stakeholders, including but not limited to the Department of Labor and Employment or DOLE, the Professional Regulation Commission or PRC, private and public schools associations, national student organizations, national teacher organizations, parents teachers associations, chambers of commerce, and other industry associations on matters affecting the concerned stakeholders. Section 11. Curriculum Consultative Committee. Pursuant to Section 6 of the Act, a Curriculum Consultative Committee shall be created to be chaired by the DepEd Secretary or his or her duly authorized representative and with members composed of, but not limited to, a representative each from the CHAD, TESDA, DOLE, PRC, the Department of Science and Technology or DOST, and a representative from business chambers such as the Information Technology, Business Process Outsourcing or ITBPO, Industry Association. The consultative committee shall oversee the review and evaluation of the implementation of the enhanced basic education curriculum and may recommend to the DepEd the formulation of necessary refinements in the curriculum. Rule 3. Teacher qualifications, training and continuing professional development. Section 11. Teacher education and training. To ensure that the enhanced basic education program meets the demand for quality teachers and school leaders, the DepEd, CHAD, and TESDA shall conduct teacher education training programs in collaboration with relevant partners in government, academe, industry, and non-governmental organizations. Such professional development programs shall be initiated, conducted, and evaluated regularly throughout the year to ensure constant upgrading of teacher skills. Teacher education and training programs shall include but not limited to in-service training on content and pedagogy. DepEd teachers who will implement the enhanced basic education curriculum but have not undergone pre-service education that is aligned with the enhanced basic education curriculum shall be trained to meet the content and performance standards of the enhanced basic education curriculum. The DepEd shall ensure that private educational institutions shall be given the opportunity to avail of such training. Training of new teachers. New graduates of the teacher education curriculum, not aligned with the enhanced basic education curriculum, shall undergo additional training upon hiring to upgrade their competencies and skills to the content and performance standards of the new curriculum. Furthermore, the CHAD, in coordination with the DepEd and relevant stakeholders, shall ensure that the teacher education curriculum offered in these TEIs will meet the necessary quality standards for new teachers. Duly recognized organizations acting as TEIs in coordination with the DepEd, CHAD, and other relevant stakeholders shall ensure that the curriculum of these organizations meets the necessary quality standards for trained teachers. For purposes of this subparagraph, the term duly recognized organizations acting as TEIs refers to organizations other than schools or HEIs contracted out by the DepEd during the transition and for a fixed period to provide teacher training for purposes of retooling the graduates of the teacher education curriculum, and only in such areas where there is a shortage of trained teachers. Training of school leadership. Superintendents, principals, subject area coordinators, and other instructional school leaders shall likewise undergo workshops and training to enhance their skills on their roles as academic, administrative, and community leaders. Training of an alternative learning system or ALS coordinators, instructional managers, mobile teachers, and learning facilitators. ALS coordinators, instructional managers, mobile teachers, and learning facilitators shall likewise undergo workshops and training to enhance their skills on their roles as academic, administrative, and community leaders. Section 13. Hiring of other teachers. Notwithstanding the provisions of Sections 26, 27, and 28 of Republic Act No. 7836, otherwise known as the Philippines Teachers Professionalization Act of 1994. The DepEd and private educational institutions shall hire as may be relevant to the particular subject. Graduates of science, mathematics, statistics, engineering, music, and other degree courses needed to teach in their specialized subjects in elementary and secondary education, with shortages in qualified applicants who have passed the licensure examination for teachers or LET. They shall also include the graduates admitted by foundations duly recognized for their expertise in the education sector and who satisfactorily complete the requirements set by these organizations, provided that they pass the LET within 5 years after their date of hiring. Provided further that if such graduates are willing to teach in basic education on part-time basis, the provisions of LET shall no longer be required. The term foundations, as used in this section, refers to non-state, non-profit organizations which are not operating as educational institutions contracted out by the DepEd for a fixed period to provide volunteers to teach in basic education in areas where there is a shortage of qualified teachers. The DepEd shall issue the guidelines and procedures for selection and eligibility of these organizations. Graduates of technical vocational courses to teach in their specialized subjects in their secondary education, provided that these graduates possess the necessary certification issued by TESDA, provided further that they undergo appropriate in-service training to be administered by the DepEd or HEIs at the expense of the DepEd. The DepEd shall provide administrative support to private educational institutions for the in-service training of their teachers on the enhanced basic education curriculum. Faculty of HEIs to teach in their general education or subject specialties in secondary education, provided that the faculty must be a holder of a relevant bachelor's degree and must have satisfactorily served as a full-time HEI faculty. The DepEd and private educational institutions may hire practitioners with expertise in the specialized learning areas offered by the enhanced basic education curriculum to teach in the secondary level, provided that they teach on part-time basis only. For this purpose, the DepEd, in coordination with the appropriate government agencies, shall determine the necessary qualification standards in hiring these experts. Rule 4. Private educational institutions. Section 14. Reasonable supervision and regulation. As a matter of policy laid down in Article 14 of Section 5.1 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution, the state recognizes the complementary roles of public and private institutions in the educational system and shall exercise reasonable supervision and regulation of all educational institutions. Section 15. Issuance and revocation of permits and or recognition of private senior high schools. The DepEd shall regulate the offering of senior high school in private educational institutions. Private educational institutions may only offer senior high school when so authorized by the DepEd. The DepEd shall prescribe the guidelines on the issuance and revocation of the permits and or recognition of senior high schools. Section 16. Specializations in private senior high school. Private educational institutions may offer specializations in senior. Section 16. Specializations in private senior high school. Private educational institutions may offer specializations in senior high school that are essential to the economic and social development of the nation, region, or locality. Local planning and the development of educational policies and programs shall be encouraged consistent with the state policy to take into account regional and sectoral needs and conditions. Rule 5. Career Guidance and Counseling Advocacy. Section 17. Career Guidance and Counseling Programs, consistent with Section 9 of the Act, to properly guide the students towards becoming productive and contributing individuals through informed career choices. The DepEd, in coordination with the DOLE, TESDA, CHED, PRC, NYC, industry associations, professional associations, and other relevant stakeholders shall pursue programs that expose students to the world and value of work, and develop the capability of career counselors and advocates to guide the students and equip them with the necessary life skills and values. Section 18. Career Advocacy Activities. Career advocacy activities refers to activities that will guide secondary level students in choosing the career tracks that they intend to pursue. Career advocacy activities involve provision of career information and experiences, advising, coordinating, and making referrals, and may include but are not limited to career talks, career and job fairs, parents' orientations, and seminar workshops on career decision making. Section 19. Career Advocates. Notwithstanding the provisions of Section 27 of Republic Act No. 9258, otherwise known as the Guidance and Counseling Act of 2004, career advocates shall be allowed to conduct career advocacy activities for secondary level students of the schools where they are currently employed, provided that they undergo appropriate capacity building programs developed and implemented by the DepEd in coordination with the DOLE, TESDA, CHED, PRC, NYC, student organizations, industry associations, guidance and counseling associations, professional associations, and other relevant stakeholders. Career advocacy may be conducted by career advocates and peer facilitators. Consistent with Section 9 of the Act, career advocates refer to career and employment guidance counselors who are not registered and licensed guidance counselors. Career advocates include homeroom advisors and teachers of all learning areas who will implement career advocacy activities. Peer facilitators are secondary level students trained to assist career advocates in implementing career advocacy activities. Section 20. Role of the DepEd. The DepEd shall first integrate career concepts in the curriculum and undertake teaching in relevant areas, conduct career assessments, conduct regular career advocacy activities, conduct continuous professionalization and capacity building of guidance counselors, career advocates, and peer facilitators, develop or accredit training programs on career advocacy, establish a career advocacy unit and provide adequate office space in high schools, and lastly, designate guidance supervisors at the division level and career advocates at the school level. That ends my presentation. And to continue our report, I will give the virtual floor to Miss Diana Ponce for the continuation of our report.
To continue, we have rule number 6, e-GASP beneficiaries and other financing arrangements with private educational institutions and non-DepEd public schools. So e-GASP or EGASTPE means expanded government assistance for students and teachers in private education. So this is basically for private educational institutions and non-DepEd public schools. Under this rule, we have Section 21, expansion of e-GASP beneficiaries. So, in this particular section, there is extension or expansion of benefits accorded by RA number 8545. So, mas lapad or mas dako or mas daghan na siya og scope. 2. Criteria for assistance to qualified students. So, mao ni siya ang criteria to avail the said assistance. So, this assistance available ni siya primarily to students who completed junior high school in public schools, taking into account the following factors. And also available sa ni siya to students who completed junior high school in private educational institutions. Section 23, forms and amount of assistance. The forms of assistance that may be provided by the DepEd may include any of the following. First, a voucher system, education service contracting, management contracts, forms of assistance provided under RA number 8545, and other forms of financial arrangements consistent with the principles of public-private partnership. Section 24, participating schools. So, muna siya ang mga schools or institutions na makaparticipate the said assistance. So, ang makaparticipate are private educational institutions, non-DepEd public schools, and other providers na authorized to offer senior high school. Section 25, implementation mechanisms. The DepEd may enter into contractual arrangements or establish new mechanisms for the design, administration, and supervision of programs of assistance or aspects thereof subject to the approval of the appropriate government agencies. Section 26, funding requirement. The budgetary requirement of the programs under this rule shall be ensured by the national government. Next, Section 27, time frame. The DepEd shall implement the programs provided in this rule no later than the start of school year 2016 to 2017. Section 28, additional beneficiaries. So, ang DepEd, they may develop similar programs of assistance for kindergarten and elementary pupils and even ALS learners, taking into account the need and capacities of public and private educational institutions. Next, we have rule number 7, transitory provisions. Section 29, private basic educational institutions transition to the enhanced basic education program. The DepEd shall ensure the smooth transition of private elementary and high schools in the country that are not aligned with the enhanced basic education program. So, to attain a smooth transition, private educational institutions or group, they did an extensive or very detailed planning and preparation. So, dili ni siya pinakalit lang nga transitions. Section 30, implementation mechanisms and strategies. So, in this section, as what I've said, to attain a smooth transition gikan atong 10 years education cycle, ang mga educational bodies, they formulate appropriate strategies and mechanisms. So, di ni siya basta-basta lang nga transition because gipangandaman o giplanuhan gini siya pag-ayo. Section 30 na siya sub-unit or sub-part. First is partnerships with higher education institutions and technical vocational institutions, financing framework for state universities and colleges during the transition period, and effects of the initial implementation of the enhanced basic education program on industry human resource requirements. Section 31, labor and management rights. In the implementation of the Act, including the transition period, the rights of labor as provided in the Constitution, the Civil Service Rules and Regulations, Labor Code of the Philippines, and existing collective agreements, as well as the prerogatives of management shall be respected. Next, we have Section 32, transition period. The transition period shall be reckoned from the date of the approval of these implementing rules and regulation until the end of school year 2021 to 2022. Number 8. Joint Congressional Oversight Committee. Section 33, Joint Congressional Oversight Committee on the Enhanced Basic Education Program. The Joint Congressional Oversight Committee created under Section 13 of the Act shall be composed of 5 members, each from the Senate and from the House, including chairs of the Committees on Education, Arts and Culture, and Finance of both houses. The membership of the committee for every house shall have at least 2 opposition or minority members. Next, we have rule number 9, mandatory evaluation and review. Section 34, mandatory evaluation and review. In this particular section, there is constant or consistent review and evaluation on the implementation of the program, and this evaluation and review is not optional. Instead, this is mandatory to check the status of the implementation of the Enhanced Basic Education Program and the condition of different factors, and to address the different problems that may occur. We have rule number 10, commitment to international benchmarks. Under this rule, we have Section 35, Commitment to International Benchmarks. The DepEd shall endeavor to increase the per capita spending on education towards the immediate attainment of international benchmarks. And now we have rule number 11, Final Provisions. Section 36, Appropriation. So to operate the Enhanced Basic Education Program, the funding shall be charged against the current appropriations of the DepEd. Section 37, Implementing Details. The DepEd, CHED, and TESDA may issue such policies and guidelines as may be necessary to further implement these IRR or implementing rules and regulations. Section 38, Amendment. Amendments to these implementing rules and regulations shall be jointly promulgated by the DepEd Secretary, CHED Chairperson, and TESDA Director General. Section 39, Separability Clause. Should any provision of this IRR be subsequently declared invalid or unconstitutional, the same shall not affect the validity and effectivity of the other provisions. Section 40, Repealing Clause. So all the laws mentioned here and all other laws, decrees, executive orders, and rules and regulations contrary to or inconsistent with the provisions of the Act are deemed repealed or modified accordingly. Section 41, Effectivity Clause. This IRR shall take effect 15 days after its publication in the Official Gazette or in 2 newspapers of general circulation. These implementing rules and regulations shall be registered with the Office of the National Administrative Register at the University of the Philippines Law Center, UP Diliman, Quezon City. And that ends our presentation. Thank you so much for listening.